Good morning, members of parliament, support staff, TV viewers, radio listeners, those following via social media, and members of the media. Welcome to the continuation of Central Committee meeting number 14 of today, Wednesday, March 15, 2023. I would like to give a special welcome to the Minister of ECYS and his support staff. We have established a quorum of 11 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received notice of lateness from MP Grisha Heiliger Martin and MP Peterson. I have one notification before I give the floor to the other members of parliament for notification. This morning in the Tribune, we have 6th graders of the St. Joseph School in Phillipsburg who are visiting us today at the House of Parliament. We are happy that you are here with us today. As you are aware, we are currently handling the budget for our country, St. Maarten, for the calendar year 2023. In accordance with the Article 100 of our Constitution, government has to prepare a budget each year in order to be able to make expenses and enter into new loans. This budget needs to reflect both the income as the expenditures that the government intends to make and needs to be balanced. This budget, which is a national ordinance, goes through the regular law process and ends up by Parliament for debate and approval. During the debate, the members of parliament ask questions to ministers regarding the numbers in the budget, the policies of the ministers, and the plans of the ministers. Members of parliament can also propose to amend the budget as submitted by the government. The budget right is one of the oldest rights of parliament around the world where legislation and supervisions come together. And today, you get to see what happens when Parliament is debating the draft budget with the government. Are there any other notifications? No need. MP Christopher Emmanuel, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and good morning to you. Good morning to the Honorable Minister and his support staff, our Khafid. Good morning to my honorable colleagues. Good morning to the students, the teachers, and everyone in the Tribune. Good morning to everyone. Mr. Chairman, in this notification, I would like to point out a fact. Because I've taken notice, Mr. Chairman, that now for the past 2 days and 3 days, it is the members that is sitting in the opposition bench of government that is giving quorum to this budget. We are giving quorum to the government's budget, Mr. Chairman. We have been asking this government for a very long time to produce their majority. We have been asking this government, where is the governing coalition? Where is the governing accord? Where is the agreement of those individuals who have joined this government? We keep getting crickets on nothing from the government. Here we are now again today, Mr. Chairman, giving quorum to the government. Where is the majority? And the narrative is going to be, oh yeah, there's 15 members of parliament and it's not a government. It is the government that is presenting a budget and they don't have a majority present the first day, the second day, nor the third day. I just want to bring that to your notification and I thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Christopher Emmanuel. I see the next person is MP William Marlin. MP Marlin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to you, to colleagues, to the minister and his support staff, to the visitors in the public tribune, and a special welcome to the students of St. Joseph School. Many years ago, back in 1973, some of you, probably your parents were not born yet, I was teaching at the St. Joseph School. So therefore, it gives me, one of the students sitting there, it gives me great pleasure to say welcome to you here today. The budget that we are debating, of course, What is the budget? I'm sure the teachers have taught you that. It's the total overview of the expenses that the government has, and the ministers will explain how they intend to spend it. Mr. Chairman, we keep hearing, where's the opposition, where is the government, and where is the government, and it's the opposition that is giving quorum to the budget. Mr. Chairman, the budget does not belong to the coalition members. The government does not belong to a select few in Parliament. The budget belongs to the people of Sint Maarten. And if any member of Parliament, for whatever reason they would want to, do not want to take part in the budget debate because the majority is not present, that's their good right. But then explain to teachers that when they can't get paid, it's because they renege on their right and their responsibility to be here, to debate, to ask questions, and to make changes, if so be it. Mr. Chairman, let them explain to the police officers. Let them explain to the school boards that can't get their subsidy. Mr. Chairman, because the budget does not belong to 8 members in Parliament. The budget belongs to the people of Sint Maarten. The government is given the responsibility to spend that money, and the members of Parliament have a right and a responsibility to question them as to how they will spend it. So, Mr. Chairman, there's no need to put on a show in front of the students that, oh, it is long awaited and it is long awaited. Mr. Chairman, all I would say is let's get on with it and let the debate continue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP William Marlin. The next person I see is MP Rolando Bryson. MP Bryson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to you, to the Griffier, to my colleague members, the Honorable Minister of East West and his team, and those viewing. But a special good morning to the students and the teachers of my alma mater, St. Joseph School. I too am a former student. We have just heard from a former teacher, but I am a former student of the St. Joseph School, and it gives me so much pleasure to see, maybe some future Rolando Brysons and others that will be joining us in Parliament one day. Just like I started in St. Joseph, who knows where you will be one day. So I'm happy to see you tuned into, which is really, I would consider, the most important debate that the country has, the handling of our budget, the Article 100 of our Constitution as to why we're all here as members of Parliament, and to see you here gives me great pleasure. As a matter of fact, even one of my teachers is sitting next to the chairman right now, also from the St. Joseph School. So we have a lot of St. Joseph representation in our Parliament today. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity.
Thank you, MP Bryson. Thank you all for your notifications. We have as agenda point for this meeting, National Ordinance stipulating the budget for Country St. Maarten for the service year 2023, National Ordinance Budget 2023, Parliamentary Year 2022-23-166, under IS Document 535/2022-23, dated March 6th, 2023. We go over to the agenda point. Parliament received the National Ordinance stipulating the budget of the country for the year 2023 on March 6, 2023. All members have received a copy of the draft National Ordinance, a hard copy, digital link via the email and P drive. The budget 2023 is also available on our website and our Facebook page for the public. This Central Committee meeting commenced on Monday, March 13, 2023, in which each minister gave a presentation on the draft budget 2023 for their respective ministry. Members of Parliament were then given the opportunity to pose questions to the ministers. Ministers returned on Tuesday, March 14, to answer the questions posed by the members of Parliament. So far, we have had the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Labor, and the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication. The meeting was then adjourned until today, March 15th, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. hours. Today, the meeting will continue with the answering of the questions by the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, and the Minister of Justice. It is important to note the following. At all times during the answering of the questions, there will be at least 2 ministers present in the building in order to ensure that the meeting can run smoothly. The ministers who answered yesterday will not return anymore in this Central Committee meeting. However, it has been agreed that the answers to be submitted in writing will be submitted by the ministers no later than Thursday, March 16th, 2023 at 1200 hours. This does not take away from the fact that those answers will also have to form part of the note following the final report that has to be with Parliament before the public meeting can commence. Members of Parliament are requested to submit their questions to the Secretariat of Parliament once you start to speak or after speaking on the same day. Submitting the questions will assist with quickly drafting the final report. There will be lunch break from 1 to 2 p.m. and there will also be a supper break from 6 to 6:30 p.m. I now give the floor to the Minister of ECYS. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to you and the Griffier. Good morning to the honorable members of Parliament. Good morning to my support staff and those in the ministry that are following the meeting. Good morning to you, the 6th grade students of the St. Joseph School. I understood we have members of Parliament that have also gone to the St. Joseph School, and I am a minister today who have also gone to the St. Joseph School. We met in the government building, and you all asked about the Parliament building, so you all know that today you are in the Parliament building and partaking or listening to the meeting, so welcome. I would also like to say welcome to the people of Sint Maarten and those of the media who are also following this meeting. Mr. Chairman, I would like to notify that there might be 1 or 2 questions that will be submitted in writing after the answering of the questions, and I'm happy to be here this morning to be able to answer the questions that were posed by the honorable members of Parliament. The first member of Parliament from whom I will begin the answering of the question is the Member of Parliament, Sarah Westcott Williams. The first question was, the University of St. Maarten as well as NEPA budgets have been cut. Explain why and provide a proposed budget by these institutions themselves. So what is the request of the institutions for 2023 and why has their budget been cut? The actual funding of education to the school boards has not been cut. The budgeted amounts of all funded educational institutions, if need be, will be amended during the year 2023 via a budget amendment. The National Institute for Professional Advancement, which is NEPA Foundation, has indicated that their budgeted expenses for 2022-2023 academic year will be 4.9 million, and the University of St. Maarten has requested 2.2 million for the year 2023-2024. That is the academic year. Second question. Thank you for your reference to the issue dance as performance, especially by our youth and the different institutions that provide that training. But Minister, the above has been cut with 50%, and the 200,000, which was already hardly enough for all of the institutions mentioned. Can you explain the government's priority and the money that has been cut? The answer, the budget cut is necessary to achieve a balanced budget. The student development within the dance art remains a top priority. The ministry will do its best with the funds allocated. So, Mr. Chairman, what you would notice is that there would be a few questions which will be answered, also indicating the cooperation between the ministers, the government, in order to provide a balanced budget. It is a challenge, it has been a challenge, and it will continue to be a challenge. But we all know without a balanced budget, we won't be able to get that capital investment that we so dearly need in order to make the investments on the other side. So sometimes, and in this case, we have to make serious concessions, some that we definitely don't want to make, but we need to be able to reach to the point of a balanced budget, and sacrifice and cooperation is one of the things that is taking place here. The Monument Fund was cut by 44%. Can the minister and the ministry explain how that is considered a priority and still cut 44%? Here you would also notice that the fund is an ongoing project. Keeping in mind that a balanced budget is necessary, the funds allocated for the year 2023 will ensure that the project continues. On the matter of 1 tablet per child, what is the status? And how many got tablets and how many are yet to get? The tablets bought in 2018-2019 for the public schools were part of the ISTEP project plan 2016-2019. These tablets were not bought to be distributed to the child for personal use, but to be used in school during group activities in the classroom. Subsequently, all tablets bought were distributed to the schools. In 2022, the ministry organized a public bidding to purchase digital boards for every classroom in public school as part of the implementation of the ICT in the public schools. On a separate note, I must mention that the ministry also organized a public bidding to purchase laptops for the secondary schools, public and subsidized schools, as part of an analysis report that was conducted during the COVID-19 pandemic. The analysis report was to determine which students or how many students who that required a device during the pandemic. So the project did not just start today, the project started over a period of time. A total of 362 devices would be bought for the high schools based on the analysis report. So the public bidding that took place provided devices for all 3 of those projects: the digital boards for the classrooms, the laptops for the teachers, and the additional devices that would go to the secondary schools. And why the secondary schools? That is because during the time of the pandemic, the primary schools were already covered where devices is concerned. Mr. Chairman, through you to the members of Parliament, I would also like to explain that in today's time, it is necessary to move to a position where every child going to school should have a laptop, a device. We are in the digital age, and in the digital age, the way we educate the children means that they too should have a device. So the project that took place in 2020 to provide the primary school students with devices, and the one that was done again to move towards providing the secondary school students also with devices. And clearly this is not enough for all students, right? It is necessary to understand that moving towards providing devices for students is something that is in the vision of this minister. A device can never last a whole 5 years or 6 years. These are students, and it is necessary also to take into consideration that the devices would need upgrading, repairs, and they would need to be replenished maybe once or twice in 6 years. So that is something that we must do in order to be up to date with ICT in education and in this digital age. Apparently, there is a plan to privatize the Department of Public Education. What exactly is that plan? What does it entail? What is the when and how? In 2017, the Council of Ministers took a decision to transform DPE to an openbaar orgaan, meaning a public entity. Those plans are, I would say, those plans are still ongoing, but concrete plans as to exactly how that can take place, those plans are not yet on the table. And why? When I do research, especially within the kingdom, in regards to privatizing public education, I have noticed that that is not an easy task. One of the things and one of the reasons that the privatization of public education is a continued discussion, it has to do with the time it takes to make certain decisions for the schools. So I believe when we go more towards financial independence of the public education sector, I think it will help to cut back I would call it, the time for decisions to be made within the school. When a pipe is broken, or when a window is broken, when a toilet is broken, there is always a report that has to be made, and then an order that has to be made, and then an advice that has to be made, and this takes too much of time, and more in the direction of financially independing the schools would be something, I think putting them more financially independent would help in that process. So I cannot say that these are the plans, but definitely the discussions are ongoing, and ways and means to get DPE more independent is still on the table. I saw in the presentation of the Minister of ECYS that Charles Leopold Bell School will be rebuilt. Does the minister have any other information regarding the rebuilding of this school? Are there plans for it already? And if so, can these be shared? For those who don't know, I would like to say, to explain, Charles Leopold Bell School is the school that is in Coal Bay. The Charles Leopold Bell School is to be rebuilt and will be used to house Education Care Center. The program for the Education Care Center was scheduled to start at the beginning of the school year 2017-2018. This never materialized due to Hurricane Irma, whereby the property was destroyed. The reconstruction of Charles Leopold Bells is part of the Foster Resilience Learning Project. This project is being implemented by the NRPB, which will do the procurement and the construction. Presently, a terms of reference for the design and supervision of the Charles Leopold Bell School is being drafted, and once approved, this term of reference will be published for the public bidding. Minister, I saw that through the Chairman of Parliament that you expect a slight increase in the revenue based on the cinema ordinance. Minister, you might be aware, and I hope you are aware, of the fact that currently in Parliament, the issue of the cinema ordinance is being discussed. There is a proposal to amend this by a member of Parliament. So I would like to know the minister's view on the whole matter of the cinema ordinance, which the ministry expect to receive a slight increase this year. Yes, I am aware of the proposed amendments.
Minister, I would like to take a short break for 5 minutes for the students to allow them to take leave and get back to their school. So I will adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes. Meeting adjourned. Welcome back. Minister, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, in regards to the ordinance or the cinema ordinance, yes, I am aware, and I am aware of the proposed amendments to the cinema ordinance. The opportunity to fully explore the scope of the amendments and its impact is being reviewed by myself and the organization. So with that, I would get back to the Parliament in writing. Minister, you referred in your budget and in the elucidation of a language policy. Is this a general language policy? And if not a general language policy, what is the premise of the language policy of the ministry/government? The language policy is not a general language policy. The objective of the research is to begin the process of establishing a language policy that articulates the expectation for the delivery and mastery of language in education on Sint Maarten. The government in this context, is the ministry aware, as far as language policies are concerned, of two motions passed unanimously in Parliament regarding their research to elevate the English language to a position of preference among the two of official languages? Yes, the ministry is aware of the two motions passed by Parliament related to the use of the English language. Mr. Chairman, this brings me to the questions of the Honorable Member of Parliament, Angelique Remou. General question. Can you elaborate on the government's effort to improve education on the island, including investing in facilities and teacher training programs? Mr. Chairman, the following. The government of Sint Maarten's effort to improve the quality of education on Sint Maarten is focused on a two-pronged approach. Firstly, putting in place the required legislation and policies to enhance the quality of education. These initiatives include working towards, 1, the establishment of the law on education supervision and delegated legislations to provide the legal framework for monitoring and enhancing the delivery of education at all levels. Also, the establishment of the special needs policy to provide the required support for students with special education needs. Also, the establishment of the legal framework for the delivery of higher education, the funding of higher education, and the establishment of a framework for the accreditation of higher education. And Mr. Chairman, if it's all right, I think the ordinance on higher education is already here in Parliament, waiting for a date to be debated. Also, conducting of research regarding the career line of education professionals to inform recommendations related to the review of the function book and compensation of education professionals. Also, to improve disaster management and conducting of research to inform a literacy and numeracy strategy and the implementation of standardized assessment into the primary and secondary education cycle to support early interventions and remediations where necessary and inform the policy development. So one of the things that will happen this year in Sint Maarten for the first time is that we will have an international learning assessment, standardized learning assessment taking place in Group 3, which is which is first grade, across the board. And the information received would let us know where the students stand, whether they are on their level, below their level, or above their level. All of these measures, all of these programs, all of these initiatives are geared towards improving education on its totality in Sint Maarten. Secondly, through investing in students, educational professionals, education material, information system, and educational infrastructure, these initiatives include implementation of the National Summer School Program, hiring of remedial teachers in the public schools, funding and facilitating the professional development program towards the continuous upgrading of educational professionals, reviewing the national decree for the funding of education towards introducing required adjustments to improve funding of primary, secondary, and advanced vocation education, facilitating the repair and reconstruction of education infrastructure in collaboration with NRPB and Trust Fund, the development of a ministry management information system to enhance the availability of timely, accurate data on the education system to inform policy development. Also, investment into ICT hardware and software in the island's public schools to enhance educational performance through digitalization projects, including the implementation of a student information management system. So, Mr. Chairman, through you, I would like to just to focus in a little bit on three items: the National Summer School Program, the Remedial Teachers Program, and the Professional Development Program. You will clearly see that in the public primary schools, when I came, there were 1 or 2 remedial teachers for the 5 elementary schools. I have seen to it that every primary school at the moment have their own remedial teacher. That is to help those students who are a little bit on the more weaker side. The National Summer School Program is also such a program to support the students in order to help them during the summer so that the year coming when they are in the exam class, they can make it. The Teacher Development Program is also a program that helps to support the teachers to be able to deliver the needed education to our students. The investment in hardware and in ICT, Mr. Chairman, is vision to go as far as having a portal developed for public education where a student can stay at home and log into the portal and make connection to the information that was given to the student that day or the day before or 2 days before. And then the student can look back at what the teacher explained, and then the student can also catch up as to how far. The digitalization of education also will provide opportunities for teachers who have had this laboring situation. Every time that we have report cards, the teacher would have to sit there for hours writing each report card one for one. We have been able in December for the report cards to be able for 3 schools to press on a button and the report cards came out. So we do hope to have all of the schools there so you don't have to sit anymore writing a report card one for one. This alone brings down the workload on the teacher. Now, the system is to also provide the opportunity for the teachers to put in the system every time a child do a test. If the child comes late, if the child does something very good, all of this information will be readily available. And it will also bring the opportunity to the parents to be able to log in to the portal and get an update as to how their child is doing. All of this is being done in order to improve education on the island of Sint Maarten. How is the ministry addressing the issue of teacher shortage in Sint Maarten, particularly in the subjects such as math and science? The teacher shortages are being addressed by the ministry in several ways. The teaching profession is a priority area of study on the study financing priority list. Students are afforded the opportunity to purchase teaching locally. Students are afforded the opportunity to pursue teaching locally and abroad in various disciplines for all levels of education. Plans are in place to improve the attractiveness of the profession by conducting research to improve the career line of education professionals and reviewing the height of compensation. In addition, through the professional development program, professionals desirous of joining the teaching profession who work in the field of education can be trained to become teachers. Question: in 2019, I remember working on a very productive recruiting project at the Division Education Innovation, and the theme of that was Sint Maarten Sint Maarten Teach, where we teamed up with all the school boards to recruit teachers. What is the current status of this project? Is it still ongoing? Mr. Chairman, through you, the school boards are the competent authority for recruiting teachers and staff for the government subsidized schools, and for the public schools recruitment is executed by the Division Public Education in collaboration with the Minister of ECYS, who is the competent authority for public schools. After the hurricane in 2017, at the beginning of the school year 2018-2019, the school boards requested assistance from the ministry with recruiting teachers. This project was executed by the Division Education Innovation in collaboration with the Department of Education. Since that time, the ministry didn't receive such a request for assistance from the school boards or from the Division for Public Education. What step is the ministry taking to ensure that all teachers in Sint Maarten have the necessary resources and material to effectively teach their students? Mr. Chairman, through you to the honorable member, all subsidized school boards offering primary, secondary, and advanced vocational education receive structural funding per student annually to cover the cost of educational materials and resources. Can you provide information on the ministry's plan to address the issue of food insecurity among students and ensure that all students have access to nutritious meals during the school day? Students in need continue to participate in our breakfast program at public schools. One of the things that I know that is happening differently than the years before, all the public schools are being outfitted with a cooler, and the purpose of the cooler is to add a fruit, a yogurt, or milk, something else, to the breakfast program. This enhances the program. One of the schools that was not on the program, I think it is the Sint Maarten Vocational Training School, is now on the program. And the students that need, they have a system in the schools, they indicate, and they then take part in the breakfast program. How is the ministry working to ensure that all students have access to the necessary materials such as textbooks and technology to support their learning? The need for new or updated learning material resources is reviewed by school management along with subject coordinators on a yearly basis. From this review, school orders are prepared for the upcoming school year. All subsidized school boards offering primary, secondary, and advanced vocational education receive structural funding for covering of the cost of educational materials and resources. What initiatives is the ministry implementing to improve the performance of students in Sint Maarten, particularly those who may be struggling academically? I indicated in a previous answer of a question things like the National Summer School Program, the Remedial Teaching Program, etc. With the implementation of the Student Information System, school management can immediately know the performance level of classes and individual students daily from the data entered for class tests and assignments. This will allow for sooner corrective measures such as reteaching a lesson or retesting that will lead to a higher positive student outcome. The ongoing implementation of the learning management system will also provide new opportunities for teachers to better meet the individual needs of students because of differentiations become much easier. In addition, the ministry has approved and is implementing a policy towards the implementation of a standardized assessment within primary and secondary. I think I mentioned that. So as per the 2023-2024 academic year, standardized assessments are being introduced in the primary cycle with the objective of assessing students' mastery in literacy and numeracy in the early stages of primary education. The goal is to obtain data, as I mentioned, to support policy development to further improve student performance in general. In addition, the results of the assessment will provide schools and education personnel with data to inform remediation of individual students and assess areas of strength and areas that may require improvement for targeted interventions. Lastly, the development of a special needs policy is geared towards providing additional support and resources for students who may be struggling. Very important that we understand that for the first time and then continuing in the future, that we are going to have an assessment done. The information, the data which we will receive will help us also not only to determine nationally how we stand, but also we can then compare ourselves with the region and more internationally, and we will know how and on what level our students are standing in comparison with the rest of the world. It is something new. It is going to bring information, new information that we never had before, but we need to get to these levels. Can you provide information on any programs or initiatives the ministry is undertaking to train and support teachers, particularly those who may be new to the profession? School boards, as we have often mentioned, and it is true, are the competent authority for evaluating their personnel and establishing professional development needs. Where the ministry and the school board identify and prioritize common areas for in-service professional development, these trainings opportunities will be facilitated via the professional development program. However, our Division of Public Education is currently reviewing the implementation of a teacher evaluation model that will provide a methodology to support teacher growth as teachers make the instructional shift towards to support students in rigorous standard-based classroom. Implementation is projected for 23-24 school year. Question: how is the ministry evaluating the effectiveness of teachers in St. Maarten, and what steps are being taken to provide support and resources to those who may be struggling? The performance of teachers is currently evaluated by school boards, the Division of Public Education, and by the Division Inspection. The inspectorate carries out lessons observations during the academic year at several schools and school types with a complete school assessment, school inspection in specific schools under one or more school boards each year. Feedback from lesson observations are shared with school managers after observations are complete. Findings from school assessments, school inspections are shared with DPE and school boards that are the competent authorities for public schools and subsidized schools. And such, teacher professional development, resources, and support fall under those, and it is then dealt with. What measures is the ministry taking to meet students where they are academically and ensure that all students are receiving education that is tailored to their individual needs? The ministry supports inclusive education as the primary form of education in St. Maarten. It is an approach that tailors learning to meet individual needs. The ministry also defines special needs education as a type of education that addresses all students' individual differences and needs. It is a service that enables each child to operate at the highest level according to his or her individual abilities and talents in the least restrictive environment possible. Educational programs should be individualized to the specific student with the goal of meeting that student's unique needs while providing access to the general education curriculum. So, in order to ensure that all students are receiving an education that is tailored to their individual needs, individual education plans, which is IEPs, are developed where necessary, which include the support, modifications, and accommodations necessary for the student in question. The IEP outlines the specific goals set for the students by the care team, which the classroom teacher must focus on during the academic year. The ongoing implementation of the learning management system will also provide new opportunities for teachers to better meet the individual needs of students because differentiation becomes much easier. Can you provide information on any plans the ministry has to expand counseling and mental health services to students and teachers in St. Maarten? Mr. Chairman, through you, Student Support Services Division, which is part of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports, continue to provide counseling and mental health services to students and their parents in accordance with its mandate. At times, the entire family is taken along in the process, as the division aim is to work holistically. SSSD also provides consultation services to teachers for clients that are referred. The SSSD head envisioned a tool for teachers to signal when a student is in distress. And this digital tool was developed together with the MHPSS, which is the Mental Health and Psychosocial Support Consultant of UNICEF, the Netherlands. Teachers and care team members are introduced to the tool in the last 4 months of 2022, and the tool is being piloted at 5 schools in 2023. SSSD's mandate is not to provide mental health services and counseling to teachers in Sint Maarten, as this is the main task of the employer. But SSSD of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports has made consistent efforts over the years to address teacher well-being with the approval of the employers of teachers. Phase 1 commenced in February 2023, and the final phase will be in May and June 2023. Schools have already registered all of their teachers for these refresher workshops. These workshops are followed up to the Teacher Wellbeing Training of Teachers program held in 2021 that was developed by the Student Support Services of the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Sports with the support of UNICEF Netherlands. In 2021, care team members were trained and provided with a manual and program to execute a one-day teacher well-being workshop at their respective schools. It is also the intention to have the next Caribbean Wellbeing Conference focus on teacher well-being. The CWBC is a conference developed by the head of SSSD in collaboration with St. John's University and the Sint Maarten Youth Council. In 2019, the CWBC provided 6 workshops to teachers on teacher well-being. Despite mental health services and counseling to teachers not being a mandate of SSSD, SSSD has over the years and is currently executing programs to address this matter, as we recognize its importance. In 2017, after Hurricane Irma, SSSD of the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Sports felt it necessary to put a plan in place for teachers, and arrangements were also made with the APAP psychologists to provide mental health services to teachers while SSSD focused on the students. Teachers were given a flyer with the name and contact number of all the psychologists so that they could get a referral from their house doctors. Teachers were given the necessary information via their care teams as to how they could source psychosocial care with no expense to them, and it was up to them to follow up. Those teachers identified as needing the support most urgently were encouraged to make use of the arrangements. SSSD also requested that all teachers be retrieved after the storm and monitored by care teams and school management. The teacher well-being workshops and manuals have been SSSD's contribution to providing support to teachers. SSSD consistently provides support services, most naturally, to students of the school services serviced by the organization and provide support to the care teams of all schools through its quarterly general care team management meeting. These meetings serve as a training and support platform for care team members. Following question. How is the ministry monitoring and addressing the issue of student absenteeism and ensuring that all students are attending school regularly? Student absenteeism is recorded in the standard monthly reporting form ManStat. When student absenteeism is high or a student does not show up to school without prior notice submitted by the parents or the guardians, and the school has taken a number of steps to get the student back into school but was unsuccessful, the school then submits a truancy intervention form to the inspectorate for further handling. Minister, can you provide information on the ministry's 2023 plan to continue to incorporate technology into the classroom and improve digital literacy among students and teachers? What are the specific plans of the Division Public Education, specifically as it relates to the further training of teachers to use technology as a tool in the classroom instruction and assessment? The remaining funds of the ICT in education are earmarked, as we mentioned before, to purchase digital boards for the classrooms in public education. The service provider contracted will install the boards and train teachers how to use the boards in their classroom. Each public school will identify at least 2 super users among the teachers per school. These super users will then become part of the trainer's platform to assist and guide colleagues with the use of technology as a tool in the classroom. So otherwise said, the provider of the digital boards together with DPE and they will form a team that will train trainers, and the trainers will always be there to continue to train the teachers. We did take this into consideration. We spoke about it from the onset, and we know that you have teachers who might not need much training because they are very tech savvy, and you would have other teachers who would need assistance. But the training is in place for all teachers. How is the ministry addressing the issue of school safety and ensuring that students and teachers feel safe and secure while on campus? The Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports has been consistently working towards comprehensive school safety since 2018. The ministry developed in 2018 with the support of UNICEF, the Netherlands, the Safety and Emergency Response Guidelines for schools. In that same year, the Safety and Emergency Management Committee was installed, and school safety implementation was placed under the Student Support Services Division of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports. The ministry signed on to the Caribbean Safe School Initiative, the CSSI, since 2019, and Mrs. Olga Mussington's service is the school safety focal point in and for Sint Maarten. School safety emergency teams, the SETs, were installed in our elementary and secondary public and government subsidized schools in 2019, and SSSD continues to provide school safety training to schools and for the school safety emergency teams. As recently as October 24th to November 3rd, 2022, 7 one-day long school safety emergency teams trainings were organized by SSSD with the support of UNICEF Netherlands, and all government and government-subsidized schools attended. Topics dealt with during this training included emergency assessment, standard operation procedures, and organizing drills. Meetings with the various SETs continue to be held on a regular basis concerning school safety plans, school safety drills, and standard operating procedures. SSSD of the ministry, together with UNICEF Netherlands, is also currently finalizing drill guidelines for students and a school safety manual. SSSD, with the support of UNICEF Netherlands, recently updated the Sint Maarten School Safety Roadmap during a consultation with stakeholders in January 2023. This roadmap outlines the priorities for the next 2 years for Sint Maarten. A school safety assessment tool is currently being developed specifically tailored to Sint Maarten. Also organized by SSSD are the General Care Team Management meetings, which meet 4 times a year. The GCMM meetings are for student care coordinators, counselors, social workers, psychosocial care teams. School safety continues to be discussed extensively in these meetings. In the past, community police officers were even invited to do so, to do presentations on school safety to the various participants at these meetings. SSSD of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports also commenced working with schools in 2020 on earthquake preparations, and school earthquake drills is planned for 2023. In addition, SSSD developed the Safety Ambassadors Program and is currently being piloted in 3 schools. It is being now piloted in 3 schools. The Safety Ambassadors Program is a student-centered disaster risk reduction program for Group 6 students of our elementary schools, with the overall objective of supporting a culture of safety within our schools. The SSSD holds meetings with the chairperson of the SETs, and other SET members are also encouraged to attend. These meetings serve to plan, update, and address school safety concerns. There are many school safety initiatives taking place with the active involvement of the SETs. A school safety update meeting with school boards is to be held soon. Following question. What steps is the ministry taking to ensure that all students in Sint Maarten have access to quality early childhood education programs? Through you, Mr. Chairman, the Department of Youth will continue with the recommendations of the report, Development of a Sustainable and Equitable Funding Model for Daycares and After-School Programs, and the recommendations for the SWOT analysis of the Sint Maarten Early Childhood Development Association, which was researched in 2022. The focus for 2023 in collaboration with the Department of Social Developments are the finalization of the National Policy Plan, Early Childhood Development and Implementation Plan, the upgrading of the Early Childhood Standards and Implementation Plan, capacity training / workshops for the daycare professionals, event-based research for the development of a national early childhood care and education curriculum and learning outcome, reviewing of the laws, and advocacy. The following question: how is the ministry working to address the issue of student bullying and harassment in Sint Maarten? The SSSD has been facilitating bullying workshops with students over the years. In these sessions, the SSSD, which is part of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports, addresses subtopics like social, physical, verbal, and cyberbullying, their effects and consequences, and emerging trends. These interactive workshops sensitize students to the issue so that they can be informed and empowered to change their response or involvement. Any school can request such a workshop, and it is often tailored based on the issues being presented in the school. The general care management meetings organized by SSSD and which meet 4 times a year also continue to address the topic of bullying. Information is shared with the care teams of the various schools, and these care teams take the information and tips and on dealing with the respective issues back to their respective schools. In addition, the SSSD has encouraged schools to have an anti-bullying policy and create a culture whereby students feel safe reporting these acts and know who and where to go to do such. Some schools have anti-bullying week programs in place, and SSSD supports such initiative. Plans are also underway to roll out this program in a broad-based manner. Following question: what measures is the ministry taking to ensure that students from all socioeconomic backgrounds have equal opportunities to succeed academically? Mr. Chairman, through you to the Honorable Member of Parliament, education is funded and made available to all students between the ages of 4 and 18 years old in accordance with the law on compulsory education. Through the lump sum funding model, school boards have the autonomy to plan for the effective use of the funding provided to meet the needs of the students in their schools. The ministry is currently reviewing the National Decree for Funding of Education to introduce any required amendments. The Division of Public Education provides an updated breakfast program, and the ministry is finalizing the special needs policy to ensure that the required framework is in place to provide additional support to students who may require such to develop their highest capacity. Following question: how is the ministry addressing the issue of teacher burnout and ensuring that educators have access to the necessary resources and support to maintain their mental and emotional well-being? The Division of Public Education within the ministry will continue to focus on promoting teacher well-being, and each school has been tasked with organizing this school year events for motivating teachers, improving morale among staff, and building a team atmosphere. Question 18, in absence of the ROA, who is taking up this role within the ministry, especially as it relates to accreditation? I have noticed in the Ministers of VSR presentation the reactivation of the ROA. How is the ministry in particular the Department of Education, assisting in this matter. As it relates to the recognition of the SBO programs, in accordance with the SBO ordinance, a validation committee is established to advise the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports on the recognition of new programs in the absence of the ROA. Following question. As it pertains to special needs policy, what is the status of the policy and when will it be finalized to be implemented? I am keen to hear from the minister as well what the implementation of this policy will mean for the schools, the students, and their parents. Once this policy is in practice, what can our special needs students expect differently and in their benefit? Mr. Chairman, through you, the draft special needs policy is currently being updated based on the outcome of the situational analysis for special needs education, which was finalized at the end of 2022. The policy is expected to be finalized this year. Mr. Chairman, the situational analysis for special needs education is a survey that took place and was done by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports. This survey was done in order to find out in Sint Maarten how many special needs and what are the different types of special needs that we have here in Sint Maarten. We can only address the issue and take care of our special needs if we know what we have on the island of Sint Maarten. And we did not only look at those who were part of a formal institution, but we tried to capture as much as possible who all we have nationally. And this information is being used in order to finalize the special needs policy. This is one of the works that I am so very proud of, that we paid the attention to our special needs and that we are able to provide a policy that will start, let us say, the groundwork for what they can demand, not just to say this is needed and that is needed, but we will have a policy from which they can demand their rights to what they need. Can you provide information on the ministry's plan to improve special needs education on a whole in Sint Maarten and ensure that students with disabilities have access to appropriate accommodations and resources? As I mentioned, the implementation of the policy will mean that schools, students, and their parents will have up-to-date procedures for referral and enrollment into special needs education, additional access to resources based on guidelines for how inclusion and special needs education classrooms should be staffed, a structured approach to individualized education plans, a standard for infrastructure of special needs education schools and classrooms. Additionally, the policy will touch on how to discipline students with special needs when necessary, record keeping and reporting, the necessary qualifications for teaching staff and support staff, and the roles and responsibilities of all actors involved. And with this, I think we would have been in the right direction in taking care of our special needs, who are special persons within our community. The following question: in anticipation of the rebuilding of Prince William Alexander School What activities and preparation has the ministry done thus far to ensure accessibility for all special needs students, including students with physical disabilities? In addition to that, ensuring that the physical environment of the school is conducive and stimulating to learning, and anticipated new technologies and methods that will need to be deployed to better assist our special needs students. The ministry is presently finalizing the special needs policy, and in 2020, the ministry commissioned a design criteria report which entails requirements to accommodate students with special needs in the classroom. These documents will be used to guide the process. The question, I have been championing the revamping of the Sint Maarten Vocational School, especially as it pertains to giving the school an official status. One report done by local experts states that SMVTS is dealing with 9 different types of students, ranging from behavioral special needs and academic. I have expressed on the floor of Parliament numerous times the need to give Sint Maarten Vocational Training School the proper care and attention it deserves. What has the ministry done in 2022 as it relates to restructuring of SMVTS, and what plans for 2023? The plans for 2023 will be to finalize the school type and to find the right curriculum per school type. Mr. Chairman, in that answer, you are to understand that the situation regarding the Sint Maarten Vocational Training School have been analyzed, have been discussed, have been looked at. And it is indeed in one report, it states that there are 9 different types of students in one section, but there are 3 different types of students in an area that don't really fit with each other. So the challenge at the Sint Maarten Vocational Training School is indeed to give it a school type, but with that school type, there must be a curriculum. And the search for the school type and the curriculum that matches the school type is ongoing. I have had discussions with various persons, which I have mentioned before, and I will do my best that before the end of the year, definitely the school type and the plans to finalize the curriculum that fits the school type will be mentioned. Not that we do not have something on paper and we do not have a vision, but giving it out before it is thoroughly discussed with all the stakeholders will not be the right thing to do at this moment. The following question. The Department of Education Budget Post 43489, Project Code 60073, Projects and Activity Onderwijshervorming was reduced with 395,000 guilders. Can you explain this drastic reduction? The reduction in the budget post for education reform is the result of cuts introduced so that we can get to a balanced budget. Under budget post 43521 insurance students, I see a significant cut from 2023 budget. In comparison to the 2022 budget, to the tune of 138,607 guilders. Can you explain what this insurance entailed and why the significant cut? This insurance is for students' accident/medical coverage. After a public bidding in the After a public bidding process in 2022, this insurance agreement has been awarded to an insurance company for the period of 5 years. A new amount in the budget is based on the estimated annual cost. Following question. Under budget post 44302, education subsidy, most of the subsidized school budgets have dropped, with the exception of Foundation for Academic and Vocational Education and the Methodist Agogic Center. Can you explain the reason for the drop in subsidy for all the other subsidized schools? This question have been answered in the beginning, and it is that the actual funding of education to the school boards has not been cut, and that the amounts, the budgeted amounts for all funded educational institution, if need be, will be amended during the 2023 budget amendment. A budget amendment, not the budget amendment. The increase in the funding amount for some school boards can be attributed to an increase in students in the funding model of the LBHAM Bekostiging uses, because the LBHAM funding model, the funding model of the LBHAM Bekostiging uses this number of students to calculate the funding amount per student. And then we have the following question. Under budget post 43489, project code 61007, tangible cultural heritage projects and activities were reduced by 129,693 guilders. Can you explain what tangible cultural heritage means for the listening public and wider cut? UNESCO's definition for tangible cultural heritage refer to physical artifacts produced, maintained, and transmitted intergenerationally in a society. In other words, it is our built environment such as buildings, our natural environment such as landscapes, seascapes, ponds, artifacts, painting, coins, books, etc. The country's dire financial situation requires that these cuts and cost-saving measures are warranted in regards to, as we mentioned before, we are making a contribution towards getting a balanced budget so that the more dire need of capital investments can also take place. Under budget post 44301, with the project code 61005, referring to subsidy to companies, I see a cut of 50,000 for the amount for the Monument Fund / Monument Council. And this is a bit disheartening to see, especially after we have had such a lengthy debate here in Parliament just last week with reference to the importance of preserving our cultural heritage. So can you please explain this cut? What cultural policies, the cut, and the question is, what cultural policies has the department worked on? No, that question I think will be sent to Parliament. So, Mr. Chairman, the answer to that one would be sent to Parliament. And then the following question is, what cultural policies has the department worked on in 2022, and which policies are being developed and worked on in 2023? Finalization of the underwater heritage policy. The talent workshop policy is still ongoing. What measures are the ministry taking, particularly the Department of Culture, to promote cultural awareness and appreciation among students in St. Maarten? what is happening directly in schools. The Department of Culture, which is part of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, actively involves all schools on a yearly basis on national days and observances to participate in its events, bring about awareness to all students involved. For example, recent visit of the royal family, 1,100 children, Flag 22 over and Flag Day of 2022, over 750 school children participated from Sister Borgia School, St. Joseph School, and Oranje School. Additionally, in collaboration with UNESCO, the department provides after-school programming under the ICH banner, such as wire bending and stilt walking. The department is also supporting the Dow Musical Foundation with its Junior Calypso competition event. Following question. Budget post 43489, code 67028, the Business Outreach Program. Can you explain why the drastic cut of 50,000, a program that has nurtured and developed so many St. Maarten youth and is a source of income for many to assist with their expenses? The Department of Youth, which is part of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, remain desirous of increasing the budget for the BOP in order to accommodate the demand by the youth for this program. In an attempt to make additional funds available to the already established budget of 75,000, the Department of Youth was made a budget neutral transfer of 50,000 to the BOP budget post for 2023 instead of requesting additional funds for the program. However, in regards to the maintaining or contributing to the budget of 2023, the Ministry of Finance, due to pressing needs, reduced the expenses based on balanced budget, which was accepted. A positive action teenage pregnancy budget post was cut by 35,500. Can you provide information on what activities were carried out? Under this budget post, and why such a reduction on this prevalent topic? In 2022, the Department of Youth executed positive action by focusing on life skills program for the youth in areas of entrepreneurship, be your own boss program, via credits, budgeting, and a certificate first aid / CPR / AED training by Weems. The Department of Youth made a budget neutral internal transfer of 37,500 for the 2023 budget of requesting additional funds for the program. And as I mentioned before, by different situations, the budget approval could not go through due to the adherence and the contribution to a balanced budget. The execution recommendation for youth development program and the rights of the child was reduced by 15,000 guilders. Can you explain why? The department also introduced the reduction of 15,000 guilders from this budget post to apply cuts to the overall budget cost savings for the same situation of contributing towards a balanced budget. The budget post related to the integrated youth policy implementation was reduced by 50,000 guilders. Why such a reduction? It is the same measure that we use. as a cost-saving measure contributing to the balanced budget. The Department of Sports, the budget for management facilities of Coastal Lake Ballpark has been reduced with 62,071 guilders. Why such a reduction in the management of a sport facility that is frequently used by the public? The budget for Coastal Lake Ballpark is the same as it was last year. The budget reflects a reduction because of the regular budgeted amount budgeted was increased by 62,000 guilders to cover the costs attached to the purchase of the lights and the light poles for 2022. So, Mr. Chairman, the much weight on, the much want, and this much spoken about, most naturally for the John Coastal Lake Ballpark, the lights and the poles were paid for in 2022, and the information reaching me is that for sure, I think, for sure the lights are here. And I have to check to see about the poles and everything to see if everything is here, but I was told the lights are here, and that means I will await the renewal of the lights. And not me alone, but so many that uses the ballpark. The school's sports program budget post has been dropped by 190,471 guilders. Why such a drastic cut on such important initiative? When we understand how important sports development is for our youth, especially knowing that when our youth have the opportunity to excel in their talents, it boosts their self-esteem, which also has a positive effect on their academics. I have two very athletic children, so I know firsthand how their involvement in sports and the art has a positive effect on their overall development. The budget cut was necessary to achieve a balanced budget. The final question from the Member of Parliament, Ramu, related to the financial literacy. Does the ministry have any plans this year and in the future to promote financial literacy among our community, especially our youth? What are there any future initiatives the ministry is working on? Can we see a future collaboration with the Ministry of Education to include financial literacy in our school curriculum across school boards from primary schools upwards? Financial literacy provides a foundation for economic stability and prosperity, helping individuals to build wealth, reduce debt, and achieve financial independence. Therefore, it is crucial to prioritize financial education for our young people, as it can have a significant impact on their future financial well-being and contribute to the economic growth of society as a whole. The ministry has not developed any plans related to financial literacy. However, it is deemed an important area for the development of our youth. We are collaborating with our fellow ministries and other stakeholders with this venture. The following questions, Mr. Chairman, are the questions of the Member of Parliament, Ludmila Duncan. Prince William Alexander School, when will the school be finished? What is the exact timeline for execution? Are there current designs, architectural plans for the school that can be shared with Parliament, or must the process start all over again? The ministry is currently still in discussion regarding the new finishing date of the Prince William Alexander School. The building is expected to be executed in phases. The design/architectural plans will be sent to Parliament. And Mr. Chairman, one of the items in the capital expenditure budget is indeed funds to complete this project. And so when I mentioned so many times the cooperation with the government in order to get a balanced budget, it indicates the sacrifice that is being made in order to get something else done. We cannot get the school finished if we don't have the capital expenditure budget passed. So in collaboration and cooperation to have a balanced budget is what we are doing in order for us to get the much needed capital investment. How exactly was STEM in special education implemented? A breakdown of the program, and is it happening now? This year, under the guidance of the Cycle 2 coordinator, several STEM kits and manipulatives have been distributed to each class at Prince William Alexander School. Each of the STEM kits came with its own set of instructions and exercises that the teachers can use out of the box. The Cycle 2 coordinator has been tasked with working alongside the teachers to ensure the implementation goes smoothly and prepare a report at the end of this school year. A motion adopted during the budget in this Parliament 1 year ago requested the Minister of Education, Culture and Sports to present a state of sports report in a public meeting of Parliament within 6 months, providing Parliament data on school and community participation in sports, and may include information on programs for the recruitment and development of coaches and plans on the long-term repair, improvement, and maintenance of existing and future sports facilities. Minister, where is the report on sports? When will it be presented to Parliament? Can you already give us a copy? The report was presented, and the copy will be sent to Parliament this week. Was presented to me. How is the minister planning to approach capacity building in the ministry? Currently, capacity building in the ministry is foremost through workshops and training of trust funds, finance projects, and collaboration through the country package projects for the strengthening of MECI's project management. Additionally, capacity is provided through a project coordinator situated in the ministry and funded from the Foster Resilience Learning Project. A request for specific expertise for the execution of the country package is pending to improve the management of ministry an internal assessment started to identify the critical success factors to develop a plan for the required conditions that will include capacity building. The following question, Minister, I presented a motion that passed over a year ago asking that a established multidisciplinary work group be to review the curriculums and related materials in all primary and secondary schools and present a plan of approach to Parliament for ensuring that local history, heritage, and civic education are effectively taught in all schools within 9 months. Presently, a consultant was engaged to review, 1, the FBE Social Studies copy and textbooks for the primary and provide an addendum with those changes, and a draft action related to the review of curriculums was also initiated. What is the update on the points in this motion? As stated, due to capacity constraints, no further action have been taken. So what is the update on the points in this motion? And it says here, as stated, due to capacity constraints, no further actions have been taken. How many digital boards were delivered to the public schools? Is there one in each classroom? Does every public school teacher really have a laptop? 140 digital boards have been ordered. Each public school classroom and resource center or library will be outfitted with a digital board. 1 laptop has been ordered for each public school teacher and staff. I have been informed that they are on their way. I don't know if they're here, but I cannot give information that I do not have as yet. On capital income, there is a projection of 315,000 guilders for study financing income. How many students are expected to pay, and how is this policy being implemented? How can students object if there is a discrepancy in the amount of fees they should pay? Mr. Chairman, objections can be lodged to the minister based on Article 55 and 56 of the Landsverordening Administratieve Rechtspraak, or an appeal to the Court of First Instance based on Article 7 to 16 of the same ordinance. The procedure for objecting can be found on the website www.studyfinancing.essex. Have the cuts to USM subsidies affected the hiring of teachers? The actual funding of education to the school boards has not been cut, as I indicated. The budgeted amounts of all school boards, all funded educational institutions, if need be, will be amended during 2023 via budget amendment. A reduction in funding would have a financial impact on any institution's budget. However, the ministry has not been made aware of a direct impact on the hiring of teachers at USM. Capital expenditure. The digital fleet tracking system, how far is the implementation of this project? The tender process for the digital fleet tracking system began in January 2022. The bidding was completed in September 2022, and a contractor was selected based on the results of the evaluation by the evaluation committee. Currently, the agreement is being negotiated between government and the contractor. Once the decision-making is concluded, the preparations phase will commence, which involves the delivery and installation of the fleet tracking system and equipment, including training on how to use the software. The fleet tracking system is expected to be implemented and fully operational by August 2023, prior to the commencement of the scholastic year 2023-2024. Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, I would like to request a short break.
Indeed, we were actually evaluating whether normally at 12:30 we should have at 12, 12:30. We should have lunch. I see, Minister, you're approximately halfway to the question still. Members of Parliament, the Minister is still halfway through his questions, and I want to suggest that we break for lunch and return with the questions after that. So we will return until 2 p.m. Okay? We will return at 2. What's that? We will return at 2 p.m. after the lunch. Meeting adjourned.